everyone. Welcome back to the Creatively Thinking podcast. Join Carolyn Botello as she uncovers the inspirations behind some incredibly creative minds that are orbiting our local communities. Okay, hello, Damian Agostini. Is that it? All right. All right. I am happy to have you on the show and to meet you. Well, digitally, of course. I found I found you online, and when I discovered how you work with Driftwood, I had to connect with you. You have been making driftwood sculptures of animals along the lakeshore of Ontario and Humber Bay for years. These are incredibly whimsical creatures that enrich our communities. And you may have talked this to death already, but can we start with how Toronto asked you to remove your sculptures from Humber Bay Shore Park? Why did they request this from you?
Well, the funny thing was, I have never been in a place that had that much driftwood. See, what happened, how I reached the story, how I got to the Humber Bay was I was working about maybe 10, 15 minutes away from there, and a guy saw me carving a black walnut bowl, and he wanted to buy it. He lived in a penthouse in one of the big condos there. So when I finished the bowl, I called him, and he told me to deliver it. So I went up and I delivered it up to his penthouse, and he took me outside in his balcony, showed me the beach, and then he walked me down to the beach. He bought the bowl from me. He walked me down to the beach. And really, I didn't leave there ever since. I stayed there for a month after because there was such an abundance of wood. Like you said, every piece of wood was I saw something, an image of something, and all I had to do was just kind of polish it up to bring it out. And I think they had an issue with me using screws. Yeah, they had an issue with me using screws. A safety issue, I was told. Ladder. It seemed like once my stuff was removed, they came up with about 5 different reasons. A safety reason, a permit reason. But meanwhile, nothing had happened, for the 2 months prior. And the whole community really and truly loved it. Yeah, I actually thought they kind of adopted me, to be quite honest. They were bringing me, sunglasses and clothes and food and drinks. And literally every day I was getting showered with gifts. And, and even walking home with like $200 to $300 just in thank you gratuities, people just coming and dropping in 10, 20 just to show their appreciation. So, I really wasn't doing it for money. I was doing it more to express my work and to, get a feedback. That's usually why I like to engage in my public displays, really and truly. More so, a lot of people ask me a price, and I would give them a price, and then they would give me double what I asked, kind of thing, because literally, I'm not thinking price. Once I finish a piece, I'm usually thinking about what's the next piece going to be, kind of thing.
Doesn't sound, though, like it's really that legally feasible. I bet you could have gotten a lawyer to totally throw it out of court because,
yeah.
How can you not also say that, well, the driftwood just being twisted and tumbled by nature could also create, maybe obviously it wouldn't be as nice as what you do with your driftwood, but how can you not also say that just what nature does to the wood that ends up being on the beaches, like how can they really distinguish that, that's just
yeah actually it was unbelievable.
So
I've never felt that type with the work. Like this one lady actually came out, and that type of, she was in her 70s, and this one really touched me. She said, I was just suffering depression, and I hadn't left my house in 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I wasn't eating. And somebody called me and told me to come out and take a look at the artwork down on the beach. And she came out and she says, I've been coming out for the last week and 2 weeks to see your work now." And she gave me this hug like you wouldn't believe, like she squeezed the breath out of me like an anaconda. But it was, I'm telling you, and she was an older lady, but it was, I just felt the, the warmth and everything that was coming off of her. Yeah, I really, really engaged with some special moments, I must say, when I'm out there.
So they reacted so well. I mean, just so positively towards what you were doing. Like you said, you weren't even asking for it or looking for recognition, but they just gave it to you so freely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's even happening now in Trinidad. Cars are pulling over on the highway, horns blowing, and they want to come in.
Oh, so you're doing it. Oh, yeah, you're doing it over there. Yeah, we should give the audience a little more context. So right now you are in Trinidad, and it's because you have sort of a commission. Is that it?
Yeah, I have a commission, but my mom likes to leave the winter. She's in her late 80s, early 90s, about to be 90, and she likes to get away for the winter. So we come down for 4 months to get away from the winter every year for the past 8 years or so.
And so I guess, yeah, we should also indicate, well, I'm guessing that you're from Trinidad. Yes.
That's right. Yeah. So it's good to be back home. Yeah.
So where did you start using driftwood as your medium? Was it an organic reaction to your surroundings? Which I guess you kind of already answered that in a way, or did you pick it up when you were younger?
Okay. I started working with wood about 10 years ago. And that was probably the first time I came to Trinidad after my grandmother passed away. And I came here and I made 2 reindeers. And when we were putting it in my friend's trunk, somebody drove up and asked to buy them. They were going to Tobago and they wanted to buy them for 100 US each. So that kind of lit a light bulb. And then I just kept making and creating things passionately. I used to dabble in art a lot before, but because I retired, as a way of bringing in a little bit of money and doing something that I love, I said, yeah, this would be something to get to do. And really, that was what started me off. And then I just been coming back and forth and dabbling in with the wood. And then I found the driftwood on the beach, and I noticed that it had a lot more character to it, and I didn't have to work as hard. It didn't need to be sanded. It didn't need to be treated for pests or anything. And the creatures were right there in front of you. You just had to pull them out. So then that's really when I started gravitating more around the driftwood. Like I always liked woodworking, but driftwood seemed to give me a better end product for
it was
my art.
Kind of ready for you, right?
Yeah.
It was right there.
Yeah.
Just ready. It was so ready for you, right? So, like you said,
exactly.
you saw the animals and stuff right there.
So, and literally, I can walk on the beach and, if I can see the animals when they're on the ground, I can see what I want to build. I don't know what it is, but it happens.
Yeah, that's you being in touch with your creativity, right?
Yeah. I figure it's a gift from some higher powers that I'm fortunate, and that's really what I like to share, and then exchange whatever ideas, gifts, whatever conversation. It seems to stir up something.
Well, yeah, as I was saying, it's you're touching people in a way that just it's so powerful and profound that they just it's almost like you can't put it into words. Yeah.
Literally. That's another thing too. Somebody will ask me, how did you create that? And it's really, I can't put it into words. I don't know how to say it, but I can tell them you can look and see, but it's very hard for me to explain what I do and how I end up with it just seems to happen. Really, I don't know if it's a I'm willing it to happen, but it's hard for me to explain in words. But I'm sure if somebody was to look, as a matter of fact, this guy in Trinidad here was looking at me, and he brought over a couple days ago this little creature that I was really impressed. And he didn't use screws. He makes mass costumes for carnival, bending wire. So he bent the wire to connect the wood together. And I thought it was amazing, to be quite honest. And I put it on with my stuff, and everybody was liking it. Like, I was getting a lot of reactions for his work. And I told him I was quite proud to, to inspire somebody to do something like that. Yeah. And that's exactly how he learned, was to just look. So, yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that, because that just happened.
Yeah, well, some people just have that unique connection, right?
Yeah, and then it's the willingness to want to learn too, I think. Yeah, he just everybody else was eating their lunch and doing this and that, and he was just focused. And then he came back with something, So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then there was another time this younger artist came by, and he was really inspired with my work, and he kind of sat down, and I was wondering what he was doing, and he penciled in a sketch in about 5 minutes of me with all the animals I had laid out. I had a horse, I had a reindeer, a couple dogs, some furniture. He penciled it out, and then he came back. I showed me the work, and I was pretty impressed. But then he came back about 2 days later with this colorful painting on top of those. That was really he blew my mind, really. And it was just a young kid, like in his 15, 16 years old. So those type of things is what really gets me going when I see it brushing off on somebody else, inspiring somebody else's creativity.
Yeah, it's like you're spreading the inspiration to continue creating.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes. What the word I was gonna look for? Spreading the yeah, that was the word was right at the tip of my tongue. I lost it. Anyways. Yeah. I actually, once I got into the woodworking, then I found out that the driftwood was the best thing to do. So I would find places that driftwood piles up, like at the Humber, all the driftwood comes down from the Humber Bay, and it washes on to just that one shore. It doesn't go to the left towards Center Island, it goes to the right. And it all piles up, and there's the tide, exactly. And there's something similar in Tobago, where on the Atlantic side of the island you get more driftwood than the Caribbean side. And then Trinidad, I hear there's the same thing down on the south coast, down by Carinash. Somebody was saying that there's a beach where all the driftwood seems to pile up. So that's what I seem to do, hunt the driftwood down. Either that or a fallen tree. Yeah.
What led you down this path? Was it working with your hands, your emotional insights, or something else?
I got really into sculpting into high school when I was at Humberside Collegiate. The first sculpture I ever did was a soapstone, and because soapstone is such a soft medium, it's like soap. I was able to manipulate it pretty good, and I carved literally an Inuit Indian Eskimo. And then I was told by my artist teacher, the art teacher, that maybe I shouldn't mimic the Indian art because they might not like it if a non-native is doing their stuff. And then I started to do like hockey, because I worked at a hockey rink as a youth. I would go behind the net and in the warm room and then carve the goalies, because they had that bulky, the pads, the mask and everything out of soapstone. So, and I was getting paid for it. So that was, from the city while I was working. That was awesome. And I think that's where I acquired my carving skills. But this is more of sculpturing. It's more finding pieces and putting it together to get an image. And I combine it sometimes with carving, where I carve the face and I sculpt the body. So I've come up with a new term called scalarving, part sculpting and part carving. And I believe that's what I do.
Is working outside, engaging with your surroundings and the community part of your creative process? How would you say they add to your practice in a practical way? Is it more of an organic or ethereal experience, almost something that can't really be explained? How can you explain it if you can't explain it? That's a silly question.
Yeah, it's it. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. I gotta stop you there. It's the only thing. It's the only thing I would want. I would not want to be stuck in a studio, to be quite honest. And I don't know if I would appreciate being in an art gallery. Uh, I really like being in public in high profile spots. Okay. All right. Okay.
What led you down this path? Was it working with your hands, your emotional insights, or something else?
And for me, working, the closer I am to Mother Nature and to the
Mhm.
wood itself, is usually it's the best. My best pieces usually
Mm.
come from those circumstances. Case in point, when I first came to Trinidad, I used to be walking to the movie town theater, and I kept walking by this tree. It was huge. Half the tree was on the ground. Every time I walked by, about 3 or 4 times, I would see this giraffe laying down on the ground, literally. And literally after the
Yeah.
fourth day, I said, no, that's it. I came out with my tools and I put the giraffe up in about 2 hours
Mhm.
because it was like 5 pieces of wood that just literally looked like a giraffe if you put them the right way. And that's the one I have up
Mhm.
right now is the giraffe. And took me about 2 hours only because I saw everything just laying there in front of me.
Is working outside, engaging with your surroundings and the community part of your creative process? How would you say they add to your practice in a practical way? Is it more of an organic or ethereal experience, almost something that can't really be explained? How can you explain it if you can't explain it? That's a silly question.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is kind of you got me puzzled there. On that last part. But outdoors, definitely I need I would I need my stuff to be in an outdoor setting, grass, beach, stone, for it I feel to thrive. I feel it fits best, you know, in that surroundings. And for me, working, the closer I am to Mother Nature and to the wood itself, is usually it's the best. My best pieces usually come from those circumstances. Now, I don't know if that answered the third and fourth question as well, but yeah, well, I did do a piece at the Evergreen Brickworks in Toronto at the Don Valley, and I did it inside a big space. That was kind of cool, like a huge empty brick factory. I had all night to do my horse called Marengo at the time. And at the end of the day, that's probably one of my best pieces. And it's kind of funny because once I opened the door of this big, huge space, then I would just look up and I would see the whole supply of wood up the hill at the Don Valley. Just as soon as you open up the door, you'd be seeing the hill of the valley itself. So it was pretty cool knowing that I had the whole space indoor because it was freezing. So it was nice to be inside and because it was for Christmas. And then opening up to just go get my wood and to make the creatures for them. So yeah, being around it definitely helps to be outdoors around the supply.
And it sounds like if you get that immediate feedback that, it's something's not quite right, it's just you're not finished yet. It's like, yeah, it's like, thanks for telling me I'm not quite done. Okay, I'll take that in. And we'll be right back. just artists in a different way if your family's more musical.
No, I don't think we do. Most of my family roots are in the arts and stuff, not the musical part, not really the arts. I'm probably one of the only Agostini that's an artist. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. My father was into promotions and he used to bring bands back and forth, even from the William Morris Agency and bring them to the Caribbean. Acts like Otis Redding and Red Fox and stuff like that. And then there was a lot into the family business, pharmaceutical business and stuff. But yeah, I'm probably the only one. I don't know if I'm the black sheep to be the artist on the road all the time. But yeah, this I got a poem from this one girl. I don't know if this relates to that, but she called me the vagrant artist. This girl from the Humber Bay, and she was from China.
Yeah, your audience is reaching out back to you.
Enjoy freedom. She didn't know what it was like to be free and express herself in a free way. And she wrote this really, really nice poem. But at first, when I first read the headline, it said vagrant artist. And she said, but you said you go all over the world and you travel and you do your art. So that's why I use that term. And it wasn't until I looked at it under that light and said, maybe it's not that bad after all, but it was a really touching poem.
Yeah. I was talking to another artist about that a little bit, how she totally thinks that way too, that, it's an untapped resource that we take the, responsible, pathway and we just, yeah, like we think, oh, we need to be responsible. We need to take this sort of, way of life just because we think it's more responsible, and why can't we get in touch with our creativity and take that less easy way of life, right?
Really, they are. Yeah. One couple in Humber Bay. It's a different form of appreciation, the Caribbean appreciation and North American. One couple when they found out that I had to leave and it was Halloween, they came by and they gave me this little envelope, and a beautiful little envelope, all little stickers and stuff on it. Well, I opened it up and there was like $500 in 50s. And I couldn't take it. I said, no, I can't take this. And, tears started coming out of my eyes and I'm giving it back to them. And they wouldn't take it. I said, well, you got to take something. They didn't take anything. They didn't take a reindeer. They didn't take a dog. They said, no, we just want to show our appreciation. We enjoy your art. Down here, somebody will, for them to show their appreciation, the guy will just drive by and he'll circle and he'll say, you're bad, you're bad. So yeah,
different cultures,
exactly,
right?
exactly. But it's both of them are showing their love in different ways.
Have you been educated on sculpture in university or college, or have you been self-taught through experimentation and experience? Have you used your knowledge of sculpture to teach others?
Yeah, I have not been educated at college or university. I studied only in high school. And then I just went off on my own and started carving different things with the soapstones. And then I went to wood. And then it used to fascinate me to see that I could create something from nothing, kind of, And that's really what used to make me want to do another piece and another piece and another piece. And I still have that fascination up till now. So yeah, it's a passion. And I try to pass it on to the youths. I actually have been contacted I did one internet event with a teacher that had students in different places, and another lady's contacted me down here to come into her classroom and to teach the kids how to build a little animal. So yeah, I do engage as much as I can. Even with the people that come around and look at the work, there'll be a little boy, he'll want to start building something and start picking up sticks and putting a lean-to tent, or a little girl coming and making a little wheel. So yeah, when it touches a little kid, it really inspires me. I get really a lot of gratification from that. And yeah.
And then also, like you said, teaching them a little bit of how you do it, right?
Showing my techniques and stuff. And even that guy that I told you worked for the city and showed, even he was able to create something. And it seemed like I tapped into him too, that he has this creative energy that some people have it. They just need somebody to bring it out, And
yeah, I was talking to another artist about that a little bit, how she totally thinks that way too, that, it's an untapped resource that we take the, responsible, pathway, and
the easier way.
Yeah, like we think, oh, we need to be responsible. We need to take this sort of way of life just because we think it's more responsible. And why can't we get in touch with our creativity and take that less easy way of life?
Exactly.
Right?
It's funny too, because prior to this, if you don't mind me getting into this subject, prior to jumping into my art, I had a business putting in skating rinks in backyards. And at the time, we were the only ones doing that. So we had the owner of Roots, Michael Budman. We had the owner of the Maple Leafs, Dale Lastman, the owner of LT Carpet. A lot of them were our customers, and we would come in and put an ice rink in their backyard with boards. And we would leave them with ice like glass. That was part of our slogan. And a lot of them would look at me and say, Damian, that's an art form you have, because not too many people could do that. So even in my other business, it was kind of like a sculpture, we were putting things together and then putting layers of water to give them a nice smooth sheet of ice to skate on. And we had refrigeration pipes and everything. And now my son runs that business, and that's hence the reason me jumping into what I love. Plus the amount of times that I got frostbite on my fingers and stuff. It's a lot easier working with driftwood, than flooding ice rinks.
Yeah. Wood is a lot nicer too than freezing cold temperatures.
Honestly, I was telling somebody this, like, the money was great and everything, but there's nothing that makes me more happier than what I'm doing now. I don't get up in the morning to work. I get up in the morning to play.
Yes.
I'm a hunter-gatherer. I gather what I need and then I create. So every day is an adventure, literally.
Yeah, that's amazing to be in touch with all that. That's really great.
Yeah, I really feel gifted and fortunate and all of the above to be able to do what I love and, be able to survive off of that.
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of people are struggling with, especially now, because the cost of food and just finding a place to live is so expensive. The cost of living is just so much.
Yeah, the cost of living. If I could live on a driftwood beach and build my shack and just have access to running water, I would be a pretty happy guy.
There you go.
Don't need much.
That's a nice way of life, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I know that can't happen all the time, but I'm going to see if I can do it as much as I can.
How do you see yourself in relation to sculptors that are contained within galleries? Do you see a difference, or are they using a different medium and presentation? Is this the only obvious difference, or is there something we can't see?
Oh, I see a difference because I do more street art. I'll pick up anything in my surroundings to make the horse or to make the giraffe. I don't venture too far. It's really whatever's there. A gallery, if I was to do a gallery piece, I would probably want to work it down, sand it down, put more gloss on it and work it a little, enhance it a little more, buff it up a little more.
Hmm.
And some of my pieces, I I put a stain on it, but a lot of people really say no, I really like it raw, kind of thing. They kind of like the raw
Hmm.
art that I provide. So right now I'm sticking to that. But if I was to ever do a piece for galleries or a galleries thing, it would definitely be something I would take it on. Uh, but I would have to use different techniques to pull that one off. I don't know if my raw work would be suited for a gallery more so than the street art, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really different.
Yeah. Only because the pieces in a gallery, I think I would probably want to use more substantial pieces, more so than picking up maybe a coconut branch or something that's a little more whimsical.
Yeah. Yeah. The galleries are much more polished and
Exactly, and longer lasting too. So I'd probably want to use richer wood like teaks and mahoganies, and
hmm
more so than soft woods like pine and stuff like that.
hmm
Yeah, but yeah, I would probably want to do one. I'm not going to rule that out. I just feel more comfortable right now outdoors. I just feel I touch a lot more people
Yeah.
and a wide range of that population from the vagrant on the street who will walk by and a smile will come out of his face and he's walking barefooted, you know. And,
Mm.
and
To that
I was
pen
just telling
to that penthouse
I,
person, right?
exactly to the penthouse person who pulls up in their, Range Rover and rolls down their window to make a comment. So I prefer that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess I ordered my questions wrong because I hear I'm asking you, have you had any of your driftwood pieces in a gallery? But you answered that already.
Well, I did at one time, I was in a gallery a couple times, but I found that it took so long to get my money because, it would sit there. And then at that point, that was early in my career. At that point, I really had to eat and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I couldn't, I'd probably be more comfortable now at this stage of my career to put it in the gallery.
Hmm.
I did get a couple of requests. I just haven't had the time to sit down and do gallery work yet.
Yeah, it's a much longer process, I guess.
It is. It is. I would want to do one, but it would just be more. I would need time to do the pieces that I would want to put in the gallery.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do like the pieces I do on the street. I would want to do something, kick it up a notch, kind of thing.
Hmm. So do you usually donate them to the community that they are displayed in then, the driftwood pieces?
No, that's a funny because I chuckled in that when I read that question, and it's funny that you said that because both in Trinidad and in Toronto at Humber Bay, in a sense, they were donated to the city
Yeah.
because the city ended up removing them. So, so yeah, I guess in a sense I could answer that yes. But what happens too is that the pieces that in Toronto that the city didn't take prior to them, it seemed to push sales even further. Like once the city told me I had to leave the Humber, most of my big pieces they found homes really quick. People said, I'll take that one, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And yeah, so they kind of help perpetuate sales. And then down here, when the city took it, the whole community got together, and it went viral, and the mayor got a few thousand people complaining on my behalf. And 2 weeks later, he ended up cutting me a check for $15,000, and he put it on the newspaper, and it was one of those big, big checks so everybody could see,
Hmm.
and he had it on TV and everything. So yeah, those are the only two things that I could say got donated in a sense.
Hmm. Yeah, because I was going to say, how do you maintain a sense of ownership or style if your works are primarily public pieces?
Well, what I do, ownership is once I create, I kind of let go,
Yeah.
and move on to the next piece mentally.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like your children, they're in God's hands. You kind of leave them. When I leave my stuff on the street, I leave them there. I don't bring them in overnight.
Mhm.
They stay out there.
Mhm. It's like they're complete
And
as soon as they're
yeah,
done. Yeah.
and they sit out there all night, like in Trinidad and at the Humber. They were there 24/7. I didn't come back and pull them in at night. And I would come in the next morning, and every single thing would be there.
Mhm.
And in both cases, only the city was the only ones ever moving.
Mhm.
Vagrants never picked up anything. Nobody ever picked up anything and walked away with anything. Little dogs, cats, everything was still there.
Mhm.
Big horses, big giraffes. So again, once I create it, I do give it up mentally and physically in a sense. And that way it's easier for me to part with them. If you understand what I mean.
Well, yeah, because I'm thinking just of sort of the large public. It's like they're complete
Sort of
as soon as
sculptures
they're
that are
as
in
soon as they're done.
cities. Those
Yeah. those are just they're just part of the city. Nobody ever thinks that they can do anything to them. They're just part of the city.
That's right. Concrete and metal.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
that's usually the
medium.
yeah
ones.
yeah they're the really heavy heavy mediums, and they're the large sculptures. But you think that they're just part of the city. Nobody ever thinks to walk away with them or anything. They're just part of the city. Yeah. Has being such a public figure in the community with your
Well, yeah,
driftwood
'cause I'm thinking
sculptures
just
led
of
you
sort of
to
the
larger and
large
bigger
public,
projects. Have you been
sort of
able
sculptures
to
that are
sustain
in
your
cities?
sculptures
Those are
regionally and
just
nationally? They're just part of
How
the
has
city.
your
Nobody
talent
ever
been
thinks
able
that
to
they can
showcase
do
over the
anything to them.
years
They're
in
just
various locales and
part of the
cities?
city.
That's a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
Just a few,
that's usually
I want to keep you engaged
they're
with it.
big. Yeah, they're the really heavy
Absolutely.
heavy
Definitely.
heavy mediums,
Yeah.
and they're the
Definitely
large
every
sculptures.
time I go out,
But you think that they're
I
just
want to
part
do
of the
something
city.
bigger
Nobody
and
ever
better.
thinks
Yeah. I must say,
to
being
walk
on the
away
public
with them or anything. They're
kind
just
of
part of the
instills
city.
that.
Yeah.
And I want to get there.
Has being such a
5,
public
6 in the
figure
morning
in the
to start
community
when it's
with your
cool,
driftwood
and to
sculptures
see the
led
sun
you
come up.
to larger
Yeah,
and
that
bigger
shows how
projects?
passionate you are about it.
Have you been
That's
able
not-
to
that it's not a
sustain your
job,
sculptures regionally
It's just
and
part
nationally?
of you. Yeah.
How has your talent
It
been
really
able
is.
to
You wouldn't
showcase
believe,
over
like,
the
I wake
years
up
in
and
various locales and
I'm out
cities?
the house by 5:36.
Just a
And I'm
few, I
planning.
want to keep
I'm actually
you
planning before I
engaged
even
with
get
it.
Wow.
So when I get to the site, when I get
All
to the
right.
site,
So
I
that's
don't
how
look
has
at it.
being
I
a
get straight
public
to work
figure in the community
until I'm hungry.
led you?
So
Has it
I wanna
led you
take a
to
cigarette
larger and
break or
bigger
something, a
projects?
smoke break.
And the next part of the question was, have you been able to sustain your sculptures regionally and nationally?
Well, the only time it really gets to that national or regional is when I can interact with the city and something happens and the news gets a hold of it. To be quite honest, that's usually when I get national and regional coverage. It's just it usually
Yeah,
works
that
in
shows
my
how
favor
passionate you
when
are
those
about it.
things happens. I
That's not
mean,
that
when it
that it's
does
not a
happen,
job.
usually it's a blow,
It's
and
just
you're
part of
thinking,
you.
wow,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do? And then the next day, about 5, 6 doors open up, and I guess this case in point, how I met you, how we hooked up was part of that as well.
Wow.
And that would be the owner of regional, local. Yeah, when I even come out here, and I've only been here for 2 weeks, almost every day I come out, somebody has recognized me as being the artist that's doing
And
the
we'll be
work
right
down
back.
on Yarrowfeet Avenue on Racing Road.
And we'll be right back.
No, and then the Humber Bay, they're now calling me the Humber Bay artist instead of the Savannah artist, which is what I picked up in Trinidad from working on the Savannah, which is like their Central Park or our High Park kind of thing. So it seems like the communities that I initially work around and that I gravitate around my work seems to adopt me that way, to literally call me their artist. Exactly. Well, it's their product. It's coming off of their beach, the Humber Bay and the savannah. I was picking up the wood right there. I was just mentioning to somebody that I'm not in the savannah in Trinidad now. I'm on the main street on the highway, Ryson Road. So I had to just
And we'll be right
actually I
back.
made a clip yesterday to just put that on Facebook just to let people know that the savannah artist is not in the savannah. He's on Ryson Road.
And the next part of the question was, have you been able to sustain your Gotta let them know
sculptures
where you're at,
regionally
and nationally? How have you been able to communicate your creative practice beyond your driftwood sculptures? Have you found other mediums that you feel comfortable exploring? And can you translate creatively into drawing or even into computer graphics?
No for the computer graphics, and no, I can't draw. I really cannot draw at all. But I'm starting to play with stones and add stones to my work, and I'm hopefully gonna be doing a couple 100% stone projects shortly once I hit the right beach. But like I'll use them as part of the animal's face and as a nose, or if I see something that looks like an eye or an ear, I'll try to implement stones as well. Driftwood stones or driftwood, the wood itself. And then I'll even use the glass that I find on the beach, like the green glass as eyes and, different color glass as parts of birds. I made a Christmas tree out of driftwood and stained glass. Well, not stained glass, but just glass from the beach that I used like as stained glass. Yeah, just different things. I like to, whatever, if I go to a beach and find some stuff, I'll usually implement it in one of my creatures or one of my furniture pieces.
Well, that's how you're showcasing, right? Over the years in these areas. It's just they
Yeah, I'm starting to use really, if I see wire or even pieces of steel that has the right shape, I will use it if I can affix it. That's the only thing, is affixing it to my wood. I'll send you a photo and I'll ask you if you can find the spoons and my scoops, because I make spoons and scoops and stuff. And sometimes I'll need it for an ear or need a spoon for a tongue. So a lot of my creatures do have stuff that I've made and say, you know what, it looks good there. Let me use it here.
That's good that you're able to not just use wood, but be able to incorporate whatever you find, right? Well, that's how you're showcasing,
Gotta
right?
let them know where you're
Over the
at,
years
yeah.
in these areas. It's just how have you been able to communicate your creative practice beyond your driftwood sculptures? Have you found other mediums that you feel comfortable
Yeah, just
exploring?
different things. I like
And
to,
can you
whatever,
translate
if I go to a
creatively
beach
into
and find
drawing
some
or even
stuff, I'll
into
usually
computer graphics?
implement it in one of my creatures or one of my furniture pieces.
Yeah, all the things that you need to use to get to the final product or the final sculpture. What are your thoughts on originality and authenticity? Is your creativity mostly understood through realism and forms that can be sculpted to represent what can be seen? Are you an advocate for animals and or climate change because of your connection with your subject matter?
Absolutely. I'm an advocate for climate and animals. And exactly so, because of my subject matter. I really respect trees. I don't use live trees. I use dead trees or driftwood. I won't cut a branch of a living tree.
Well, that's good. If you could place your most prominent driftwood sculptures in an international gallery, what one do you think would be the best and why? Do you think your sculptures need national or global recognition, or is your local Toronto approach, as well as Trinidad approach, what you feel is most effective?
I'm very much into that. That's why I do what I do. There's not too many people.
Yeah, all the things that you need to use to get
There's a few
to the
other people
final
that
product or the
that I
final
look up
sculpture.
to that are quite great at what I do. But there's not too many people. And case in point, just a couple of days ago, somebody was driving around saying, "I know Damian Agostini's here." And they were literally yelling that out the window, looking for me. They couldn't see me, but they saw my artwork. He drove around 4 times.
What are your thoughts on originality and authenticity? Is your creativity mostly understood through realism and forms that can be sculpted to represent what can be seen? Are you an advocate for animals and or climate change because of your connection with your subject matter? Uh-huh. And or climate change because of your connection with your subject matter.
There's not too many people that can.
And that
There's a few other people that
sort
are
of based
that I
on
look
realism.
up to that are quite great at what I do. But there's not too many people. And case in point, just a couple of days ago, somebody was driving around saying, "I know Damian Agostini's here." And they were literally yelling that out the window, looking for me. They couldn't see me, but they saw my artwork. He drove around 4 times, bawling that out, and I heard him the 4th time. I was sitting tucked away, carving in between some trees, and he finally did find me. He said, "Somebody called me and said you were wearing a blue shirt and hiding under the tree." And he came and he found me. So yeah. I believe my work, once you see my work, and you'll be able to say, yeah, that's a Damian Agostini. So original.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So you're helping them clean up by also. Uh-huh.
It's a whimsical approach. I like people to see what I see. And, art's in the eye of the beholder. If they don't see what I see, that's okay too. This one lady came and I made this cat, but she came up and she said, "I love your owl." And before I could tell her it wasn't an owl, she said, "How much? Can I get it?" And then she pulled out the money and paid me. And you know what? I didn't have the heart to tell her it wasn't an owl. She walked away.
And that your forms are sort of based on realism.
It was an owl, so I let her go with it.
Yep. You see a cat, she sees an owl.
Exactly.
Trinidad approach, what you feel is most effective. Do you think your sculptures need national or global recognition, or is your local Toronto approach, as well as if you could place your most prominent driftwood sculptures in an international Trinidad approach, what you feel is most effective? Trinidad approach, what you feel is most effective. And that your forms are sort of based on realism.
No, but that's what I would love to do it with on their terms, like go to their place, like if Puerto Rico had a hurricane, I would go there with my chainsaw and my tools, help them clean up and put a smile on their face by leaving.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So you're helping them clean up by also creating from what you're finding as well.
Exactly. Like how there's some groups that'll go there and feed the people and do different things, like in emergency cases. I would like to be that crew that comes in with a crew and do a cleanup, but leave animals and furniture and different things for the island to remember something good from the place. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I'm sure they would have a smile on their face when they see the work too,
Exactly.
Yeah. So kind of like bring some light into their darkness for that time.
Yeah, that would be really nice. Well, you're putting the word out there right now, right? So maybe it'll come around.
There you go. There you go. There's a reason we hooked up, Carolyn.
All right. Well, we got to the end of our interview.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was just gonna ask you, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think we probably hit it all. I talk too much, don't I?
Oh no, the last artist I was talking to, we were on for an hour and 20 minutes. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, conversations can just go whichever way, right?
I hear you. I
can just keep talking about art till, you know. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's so good. I love talking about art. It's fun.
okay.
Okay, great. That's
All right.
awesome. All right, so I will get this interview to you as quickly as I can, and yeah, and then
None of you? You got to be in. Oh,
all right,
okay.
awesome. Okay, so you're very welcome.
All right.
All
Thank
right,
you.
and yeah, I'll get this to you as soon as I can, and then yeah, we'll chat in the future and maybe, you know, see where you're at later
Sounds
on.
good. Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry. Okay. And you know what? I didn't finish off my story about Marengo. That will be the piece that I want to put in the museum is Marengo. That's my favorite piece. That's the piece I did for the brickworks. And it's funny because that's the one I did inside the studio. But it wasn't a studio, it was inside a big, huge warehouse. And I had it all to myself
Yeah.
all night long.
Oh yeah, and that's the one you were saying you could just open the
and go out
door
to get
and
my wood. Yes, yes.
so yeah, so you were out, you could be outside as much as you wanted to because the
was
door
right
was right
there.
there to all of your creations to come
Exactly.
kind
So I
of
think
thing.
I'll send you pictures
Right?
of Marengo.
Okay. Well, I think you misunderstood that question because I was asking you what gallery did you want to go to internationally? Was there like a specific gallery you wanted to be at? I mean, telling me the piece you'd want in the gallery is good too, but
I would love to go to the Louvre. That's
yeah, it is a nice one. It's all glass. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, there's some nice galleries out there, es- especially the Frank Gehry ones. Those are.
that's the one I would want to go to. And I've been to the New York museums too. I've been to New York museums quite a bit when I was younger. Yeah. And Washington had some nice ones too.
Yeah, yeah. I bet you there's a whole bunch of really good galleries out there. Just
Yeah,
haven't.
that's the one I would want to go to. And I've been to the New York museums too. I've been to New York museums quite a bit when I was younger. And Washington had some nice ones too. DC, more historic and stuff. Smithsonian and stuff like that. There was a few times, well, I probably would have, and should have given up, and I did. I just kept going. Something inside just kept me going. When I was going to give up the most was the pandemic, when I had psoriasis and I was in pain, and I couldn't get out of bed. So I feel rejuvenated and I feel gifted that I was able to come back and do it again at this level. Because I didn't think I was going to create anymore after the pandemic.
Yeah, I think the pandemic was really hard for a lot of artists.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for asking though. You're the very first artist to ask me that because she just reached out to me to do an interview. And then after that, I was like, I like this. This is fun. And I kept at it.
That's exactly how I feel. So then
Yeah.
you did tap into what you love. This is what you love.
Yeah, maybe I just like I'm just adjacent to the artist. That's all. Just
Yes, extension
yeah.
of the artist.
Yep.
You're
I'm
still
still in
there.
it.
Well, this has been a pleasure, Carolyn.
This was a great
Thank you very much.
conversation. All right. So yeah, I'll get that off to you and yeah, and then you can sort of do the social media on your side and have it for your community and then we could talk later and see where you're at. All right.
All right.
Have a good day, Damian.
Bye
Bye.
now. Thank you. You too. Bye.
Join me next time as I go down another rabbit hole with another creative professional on their insights, their inspirations, and their ingenuity.